Good morning. Welcome to morning meeting. It's story time. Now, this is one that's from way back. It was when I was at the University of Nebraska Lincoln, and I happened to be a student assistant, and my floor was a co-ed floor, and I'm doing my rounds and everything, and I walk by this one dorm room, and three guys are in the room, and they're watching some sporting event. Might have been basketball. I don't know. I don't follow sports even back then, and I'm just sitting there chit-chatting with them because we're cordial and everything, and they're all three of them were from a small town in Nebraska, not necessarily same small town, but all of them from small towns in Nebraska. And we're just sitting there chit-chatting, they're watching the game, and then all of a sudden one of them is upset about something that they've seen on the TV that a player has done, and he calls them the N-word at that point. And the other two got dead silent and looked at me and then looked at him. He had no clue what he had done. No clue what he had done. The other two were like, oh shit, what is she going to say? Now, let me back up a little bit. At our first floor meeting, I let everybody on the floor know, look, please don't do stupid shit, okay? I don't want to have to catch you drinking when you're not supposed to be drinking, yada, yada, yada. Look, I just don't do stupid shit. I can be a real bitch when I need to be a bitch. Please don't do that. So that is like the one thing they all remembered. Everybody in the floor remembered from meeting me the first time was that, look, I can be a bitch if I need to be a bitch. So please don't push me. So then I'm standing at this door and that happens. And the other two white guys are like, oh God. And the one that did it was like, what? And he still didn't get it. And then when it started to come over his face that he realized what he had done, and his friends are like, idiot, you idiot. I just laughed and that's okay. I get it. I get it. The way you think about that player, I get it. I mean, it's kind of like how I think about people who come from small towns in Nebraska. I mean, they're all idiots, right? I mean, pretty ignorant people that come from small towns in Nebraska, right? And then I walked away. And I may have said a few other things, but I walked away. And I don't know, a week later or something, I ran into the other two guys again, and I'm like, hey, how's it going with your friend? How's he feeling about it, how I left that conversation? And they're like, well, he's okay. He was a little embarrassed. I'm like, as he should be. But the thing is, he's embarrassed because he got caught. This is something that he would have done anytime, anywhere else. The only reason it was embarrassing is because it was in front of me and he got caught doing it. His friends were the same because otherwise they would have been correcting him long ago, right? But this is just the way that they are, the way things are. So what we do in front of other people, sometimes it gets supported by them, right? I was having a conversation with my husband the other day about some of this stuff and how it's painful to actually keep talking about it, and I'm not going to keep talking about it. At some point this is all going to come to an end. These story times about this topic will be over. But he was feeling like, well, sometimes those students, they just don't know what they can do. I'm like, oh, no, because I've had conversations with some of them. But here's the thing. Here's what you can do. Your students, your friends, here's what you can do. When someone says something in front of you about other people and you don't agree, speak up. Say something. And it doesn't have to be that it's about race or ethnicity. It could be anything. Speak up and say, you know what, that's not what I think, and that's not how I feel. Because the thing is, when people do this in front of you, it's because they feel comfortable doing it. They think that you already agree with them and that it's perfectly fine to do that. And it's just not. At my son's graduation party, we had, people came over and everything. And there's this couple that came over that we have been friends with for many years. And up until right before COVID, we hadn't really hung out together, and we haven't since and all that. So it's been, our sons are friends. They're really close friends. So they came to the graduation thing, and I wasn't present when this happened. So my husband was describing it to me. And apparently the husband in some setting said something that was deemed inappropriate. And he thought that he was going to get support collectively from the people he was around. And he did not read the room correctly. Because when we have people over in the past, it's always a mixed group of people. I mean, if it's a party, it's a mixed group of people. But I will say that the majority of the time, these are pretty liberal people. They're not conservative people. And so they're not going to have real tolerance for someone who's saying inappropriate things about women, about gay people, about trans people, about other ethnicities, they're not going to have a lot of tolerance for that. And apparently he said something that was about, I think, Chinese people or something, and it fell flat. And I asked my husband, well, what did his wife do? And she says, I think she gave him a side eye or something, and other people were just silent looking at him like, what, do you have more to add to that stupid ass comment you just made? I mean, he just did not read the room. But their collective silence spoke volumes to him about that was not okay. Now, he should have known. I mean, he's been around us a long time. He should have known that that was not going to be okay. But I figure maybe he had been spending too much time with some other people where it was okay, and he'd forgotten himself a little bit. So, lesson learned, maybe. I don't know. But the point is, speak up. If you don't agree and don't like what someone is saying about other people, that is the one thing you can do, is let them know that you're not a safe space for their hate, because you're not. And when we're silent about that sort of thing, it perpetuates it. It lets it keep going. So what can those students do? And this is hard for them because, they want to fit in. But what can they do? They can be taught and trained to speak up and say, I don't agree with that. That's not cool. You shouldn't be saying that. You shouldn't say that about those girls. You shouldn't say that about that black student. You shouldn't say that about that Hispanic student. You shouldn't say that about that Ethiopian student, that Chinese student, that Vietnamese student, that Korean student, that whatever it is. Teach your children to speak up about the things that are not okay with them or with your family. That is a great first start. That would be incredibly helpful, especially if you're white. It would be incredibly helpful if you just started doing that one thing. That's it. Just that one thing. Just step up, speak up, step between. That's it. I don't think that's that hard, quite frankly, personally. But that's just my 2 cents. See you later.